Brian, we haven't seen Malik practice this spring or talk to him. How's he doing?
He's doing good. Yep.
Any concerns about him being ready for the start of training camp?
No.
Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. Minicamp is a wrap. It is over for this portion of the season. I should say the off season. The next steps are going to be training camp. And speaking of training camp, we finally got an update on when training camp is going to start. Brian Dable let it be known that training camp is going to start July 22nd. So everybody that likes to go to these practices, the training camp practices, now you have a start date. You can start getting your PTO ready. Let your boss know, like, hey, I'm not going to be in work today, or I'm leaving early, or I'm coming in late because I'm going to see the New York Giants practice and training camp. I'm excited, just like a lot of the fan base is. Now, also, when it comes to training camp, Brian Dable said that there are still a lot of spots where players are competing, to be the guy. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And also I thought about it because for me, there's probably 4 main competitions going into training camp. Who's going to be the right guard for real? How is that defensive front, meaning nose tackle, D tackle, and defensive end? Who's going to be those guys outside of Dexter Lawrence? Dexter Lawrence is going to be the nose tackle. Who's going to be CB2 now? Because it looks like it's going to be really actually, it's not even looks like. They let it be known today. DB coach let it be known that both Cordell Flott and Tay Banks will be getting starting reps at the start of training camp. So that's going to be a fight. And then also for me, personal interest is who's going to be tight end 2. We already know Theo Johnson is tight end 1. I want Daniel Bellinger to be the tight end 2. But again, it's going to be competition here. You got Chris Manhertz. You got Thomas Fedoni. You got Greg Dosich, who finally got a highlight today. But yeah, it's going to be a stiff competition, at tight end, or I should say the tight end 2 spot, or tight end in general, actually, when you really think about it. So I thought it was interesting that Brian Dable had brought that up, on the last day of minicamp, talking about some competition that's going into training camp. He also said that right now in OTAs, you're seeing different guys getting reps. Obviously, when you get into training camp, it's more purposeful. And you're going to have, the starters getting rep with the starters, or the ones playing with the ones. It's not going to be QB1 throwing to wide receiver 7 when you get into training camp. It's going to be more set roles, or more set depth chart when you get into training camp, so you expect them to start, building that chemistry with the starters and not playing a lot of musical chairs when it comes to all these different positions. But I just thought it was interesting that Brian Dable let it be known that there's still a lot of competition left for this team. He said that they will not know who all the starters are going to be until training camp. Now, we can guess all we want to guess of who's going to be where. They got predictions, depth charts on websites. Was it Our Lads got their predictions? I have my own predictions of who's going to be where for, with the ones. But again, at the end of the day, the coaches or the head coach is saying that they don't know who the starters are going to be until training camp starts. Now let's talk about what some of these assistant coaches said. Now, first off, I want to talk about the outside linebacker coach. What's his name? Charlie Bullen. Charlie Bullen, right? So obviously, when you're talking about outside linebackers, everybody wants to talk about Abdul Carter, and he had a comparison that I have not heard yet when it comes to Abdul Carter. And he said he had a comparison to Chandler Jones. And when I think about it, I remember, how good of a player Chandler Jones was and what type of player Chandler Jones was. Very athletic, long defender, great finisher. And when I think about, okay, he's comparing him to Chandler Jones, and I don't know if there's a relationship that Coach Bullen had with Chandler Jones. Probably, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised because, Chandler Jones did play at New England for a while as well. But I'm just sitting here like it makes sense because he's saying talent-wise, when it comes to Abdul Carter, he's a great finisher. The speed that he has, the length, and the intensity that he plays with is similar to what Chandler Jones did, and I can agree with that. And it's funny, I didn't even think about that before. But also, when it came to the outside linebackers, he mentioned that right now you got Tibbs, Burns, and Carter, and the way they're going to start this is they're going to start with 2 edges, and then it's going to be a rotation. and then they're going to take it from there. Now, I can't wait to see the reports from training camp where it's not one of those packages where you have Tibbs, Burns, and Carter on the field at the same time, and who the first guys are going to be. Obviously, Burns is going to be out there, but who's going to be out there first between Tibbs and Carter? That's a great question. I can't wait to see that happen. But also, he said that Abdul Carter has not been in any other room except for the edge room. And you're like, of course not. You know, he's an edge rusher. But remember, we talked about his versatility, his ability to play off-ball linebacker as well. We talked about what the different options are of how they're going to get, Carter on the field along with Tibbs at the same time. And we had these different packages, but he has not been in the inside linebacker room at all. But he did say that, he still has those traits and he's not closing the door, to Carter, meeting in multiple rooms and not just the edge room. Next, I want to talk about what the DB coach said. And again, they let it be known that it's going to be a competition at CB2 between Tay Banks and Cordell Flott. They said both of these guys are going to be getting starting reps at the start of training camp, and it's going to be a full-on competition. 2 weeks ago, if you would have told me this, I'm like, ain't no way. And then you get to OTAs and you're like, wow, okay, they really are playing Cordell Flott with the ones a lot. And it's nobody's fault but Tay Banks. It was Tay Banks' spot to lose to begin with. Last year, we had issues with effort and stuff like that. So now they're making him earn it. And that's one thing that the DB coach said. He's going to have to earn it when it's talking about Tay Banks. He did say that his mindset has been different this year. He's asking a lot more questions. He's a lot more focused, but he did say he's still got a lot of work to do. He's still got to pay attention to the details, but he got time to work on that. So it's going to be a full-on competition between Cordell Flott and Tay Banks. And for right now, it feels like the best man is going to win. I will say this, though. When it comes to like skill set, height, weight, speed, Tay Banks should have Cordell Flott beat, but again, Cordell Flott is going to be a tough out for these guys. And one thing I will say about Cordell Flott, even though a lot of people don't see him as a starter, he is one of those guys like Micah McFadden, where each year you have seen the progression, you've seen these guys get better. So that's going to be an interesting competition. So next, let's get into some of these practice notes, right? And there weren't a lot of practice notes because, again, it was all 7-on-7 today. No 11-on-11. They did have some individual drills. I'll throw up some clips throughout the video. But right now, so Dart in the 7-on-7 period, he had 3 touchdowns, 1 to Humphreys, 1 to Montrell Washington, another one to Dalen Cambry. He did have 2 interceptions today. 1 interception was by Raheem Lane in the corner of the end zone. He was targeting Daquan Felton on that play. And then he had another interception that was a deep pass. It was tipped by Art Green and then picked off by Dane Belton. Now, one thing I'll say this too when we talk about Dane Belton, since he just came up. Dane Belton might just be the MVP. I would have gave it to Jalen Hyatt, but he ended up getting injured, and I might still give it. It might be a tie between those two. But Dane Belton has done a lot for himself in these OTAs. I believe he has 4 interceptions now. It might even be 5 interceptions throughout, the 3 weeks of OTAs. Somehow, some way, every week, his name has been involved or his name has been mentioned in a lot of these reports. And I will say this, salute to Dane Belton for that. I don't think there's a competition at safety. Again, the top 2 safeties are definitely going to be Javon Holland and Tyler Newbin. But Dane Belton, the way that he's been practicing and playing and making plays throughout OTAs, it gives you that extra bit of confidence because we saw him in games already. The years that he's been here, he's been one of those guys that's been in the right place at the right time, being able to get these interceptions. I believe he has like 5 interceptions for his career as a guy that's in the reserve role. But it gives me that confidence that if anybody goes down or if anybody needs a breather during the game, Dane Belton should be able to step in without us skipping a beat, especially on defense. We already know how it is when Dexter Lawrence needs to take a breather or when Dexter Lawrence can't play. It's like the whole defensive front falls apart. So you want to have some confidence in your rotational guys that, okay, Dexter Lawrence needs a breather. I'm not worrying about the other team breaking off a 20-yard run, anything like that. But good to see that Dane Belton is doing this thing. Also, I believe they had a touchdown. Was it Russell Wilson had a touchdown to Cambry again? We have a QB1 throwing to a UDFA wide receiver. for a touchdown. And also, Jameis got into the mix with Greg Dosich for a touchdown as well. Again, very, very light practice. Up and down day for Jackson Dart. 3 touchdowns. Did have 2 interceptions. He's a guy that's learning and progressing. And also, he was at the podium later today. I'll get into some of his quotes as well. And that's a great segue. That's a great segue because that's all I have for the practice notes. Let's talk about some of these player quotes. First thing I'm going to talk about is Jermaine Illuminor. He said that the one thing that Jermaine Illuminor said, he said the spring went well. There's been a lot of competition. Guys have gotten good work. He says he loves the leadership from the quarterback room. He said there's a lot of energy coming from the quarterback room as well, and he's impressed with Russell Wilson. He also talked about Neal and his move to guard. He said Neal can be a good guard. He said the one knock, or not the one knock, but the hardest thing that would be the speed inside will be the biggest challenge for Evan Neal. Again, something to work on, right? And that's, it's funny too, because when you think about Evan Neal being on the outside and speed being an issue for him on the outside because he's out there on the island with the speed rushers, and you feel like, okay, you put him inside in a phone booth and he might play better. But no, Illuminor is saying it's a different type of speed. It's a different thing, a different element that you're dealing with on the inside at guard, but there's still a speed element, and he believes that that's going to be the biggest challenge for Evan Neal. Again, practice makes perfect. Let's go ahead and keep these guys great. Next, he was talking about Carter, Burns, and Tibbs being a hell of a trio, and also the intensity in practice. Said there's been a lot of intensity even in these unpadded practices. There's been a lot of intensity in these practices. Again, a lot of motion. These guys were fighting 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? But it's because, as a whole, the team said we are tired of losing. And guess what? The fan base is tired of losing as well. And for me, I'm sitting back like, between Russell Wilson, Jermaine Illuminor, the energy that Abdul Carter is bringing, Jameis Winston as well. There's a new energy. There's a new vibe in the building for the New York Giants. And I sound like a broken record because you say this type of stuff every year. And you also see every year that things are different. And for me, I think things really are different. Next thing I'm going to talk about is Dart. It was Dart and DeVito were both at the podium. I do have some quotes from Dart that I thought were interesting. He did say that he feel like he's making strides. He said the biggest difference between the college and NFL is the quality and the athleticism of a pro defense. One quote that I had that I liked was, "You think you made a good throw, and then the DB is there and knocks it down." So getting used to the speed of the game at the NFL level is something that, kind of surprised him, but he said he's making strides. And then he said he's just taking it day by day. He trusts the staff with his development, and he is a process-driven guy, saying all the right things. And to that point too, you heard it from the horse's mouth. He said the biggest difference is the speed of the defense. Thinking that you made a good pass, but realizing that the DBs are fast enough to go ahead and knock it down. So when I keep saying to a lot of people, let Jackson Dart cook. He needs some seasoning. It's slow cooking. You know what I mean? Do not rush the kid onto the field. He needs time to develop, and he does. He's a hard worker. He has the intangibles. He has the arm strength. But again, this is a different level between college and the NFL. And he needs to be prepared before we throw him out there to the Wolves. And we shouldn't throw him out there to the Wolves is all that I'm saying. That's all that I'm saying. But that's going to be the video. That's going to be the wrap up of the final day of minicamp. Again, training camp starts July 22nd. And yeah, I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited too. Because I definitely can't wait to see these guys on the field all together and healthy. But that's going to be the video. I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.